160 or something like that.
Copy
and just aim up and look around until we have to come off.
Yeah. All right, so just regular flying from here. Copy that. We can do that. I know how to do that. That's my first time breaking something off a wall into our rock box, but the regular flying is within the realm of things I've done before.
I have to say, I think that the only time you're really going to be able to do that quite that easily is with glassy lavas. Probably.
Oh yeah, if it wasn't brittle glassy things, I wouldn't even have tried.
Yeah, I don't think that's a particularly great approach for a regular rock sample.
No way. Thanks. Oh yeah, definitely. You can back, and I'll continue along.
All right. Looks like the wall is actually a little touch west of south to me.
Touch west of south. Okay.
Yes.
Like 190.
I agree. I'm at 195, and it's still a little bit to my right.
All right, 200.
So one of the things that's important to remember
face
is that
and I'll get in center
all
of
of
your view
these data will be made
continue
publicly available. All of these samples will be made publicly available. They go into an archive.
You guys good with
and,
30 meter move to 200?
Yeah,
just processed through the archive process.
Hold on.
You can
I floated away a ways on that.
Ask
you got 10 minutes to get set up. So you mind if I call it in? I'll wait.
Yeah. How far are you trying to go?
I was just going to put 30 meters in.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Bridge nav. 30 meters, 200 degrees, 0.2 knots, please. Thank you.
So this has just been a stupendous geology dive. We have really enjoyed ourselves. We are on our third pillow mound of looking at fresh young lavas, less than 2 years old. We've collected a sample. We collected 2 samples that were little pillow extrusions, little pillow toes, and we collected one that looked like it was a broken off piece of a larger pillow. And we're just going to drive our way up this slope and see what we can see for the remaining time of our dive. So could we zoom in on some of this as we go by?
Yeah, of course.
Look at those little tiny guys just hanging off the side of this pillow. And then we have more of those rusticles that we've seen before, which are probably just an iron precipitate. Possibly they're biologically mediated, microbially mediated. We're not really sure. But what we are fairly sure about is that those probably don't have any, they're not actively microbially mediated. So they might be leftovers. And more of these toes just sticking out. These are going upwards. Yeah. I'm trying to keep my biologist excited in the back row here, and I think she's finally given up. She did really well for such a good geology dive, though.
I'm with you, don't worry.
I know you are.
Don't worry. Look at all this glassy stuff.
These are awesome. It's probably good that there's actually a limit on how many samples we can bring back, because otherwise the ROV would be loaded to the top with tiny little glassy toes. That's a good question. Nav, what time we're going to be off bottom? I'm sorry, I know I keep asking this.
Right now, we're probably around 4:15, so we've got 15 minutes or so.
Okay, great. Scientists that are still on the line or on the event log, we're due to come off bottom at about 4:15, so about 15 minutes from now. Would you like to do the call for tomorrow's dive at the hydrothermal vent fields just, a few minutes after we come off bottom? Does that work for everyone?
Yes.
Works for me.
All right, I'll make that an assumption that that's a yes all around. So what we'll do basically is when we finish up this dive after wandering up the slope, as we come off bottom, we'll basically just roll right into our science meeting so that we can make sure we're all on the same forward path for our hydrothermal vent dive tomorrow. Look at this. It's so glassy. 4:15. Now see, this is the sculpture I think we would all buy. Imagine that, like a chandelier hanging from your ceiling. And look, a polychaete. Or is it a shrimp? Is it polychaete? So how come, biologist, how come some of the polychaetes aren't, like, wiggling?
Taking a break. Yeah, tired.
Okay. Is it POL? Mm-hmm. Yep. We see a lot of these areas of collapse. So sometimes it's where more lava has extruded. Sometimes it's just where there was a little zone of weakness. You are allowed to be excited. A little over 10 centimeters.
Thank you, Brian.
Sorry.
Pilots, any problem with me can keep it moving in this direction?
So Patty Fryer says that this looks like the Chihuly art glass just on the seafloor, and she's totally right. That's totally what it looks
really
like.
does. It
Yeah.
really does.
Good call, Patty.
I love Chihuly.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Maybe we need to know maybe we need to pass some of these images on to Chihuly so we can all get him on board with making this. So this is an area you can just see them all like just dripping down the sides of this mound.
Two zero zero.
Yep.
All right, I'll just do another 30 then.
There's some more of that spongy texture inside that pillow on the right.
Bridge
Where?
nav.
Do you see it?
30 meters, 200 degrees, 0.2.
Oh. I happened to be looking down right as that went by. Look at these other little guys. They're sort of draped over the pillow basalts on top, just underneath them. And then there's lots of these little pillow toe extrusions.
Yeah, I sure don't understand what makes some pillows have all these little buds and fingers like these and others don't. I don't know what the difference is.
See, there's always something left to be learned about geology on the seafloor.
Yeah.
Can't help but see faces.
I think we've just provided some really amazing imagery for like intro geology classes for the next decade. Oh no. Isn't that fantastic?
It's amazing how narrow some of those fingers are, like the one on the left.
Yeah.
It's so delicate.
Actually, can you zoom in on the like center bottom pretty much? Maybe not just off center. The one that's like wandering off to the left off of center. I want to see what the bottom of that one looks like. Now. Yep. I'm just trying to see where it ends. Oh, look at that. So actually, now I'm sorry.
It's
Can
not
you zoom
quite
back out again a
full
little bit?
zoom.
So, keep going. Yeah, so you see it like it basically became this long, skinny, stretchy thing, and then it sort of fell and coagulated at the bottom. That was cool. I wish you could all see the event log where all the scientists are typing in their comments. The geologists are having a ball, and the biologists are, I think, making fun of us, honestly. Actually, I think that all of us can agree this has just been a really interesting dive. It hasn't been the same as many of the other dives we've had on this expedition. Many of those focused on looking at corals and crinoids, and there were lots of sponges. And this one, instead, because it's such new seafloor, we really haven't seen anything that's colonized it yet. So we've seen a couple of shrimp, we've seen a couple of squat lobsters, we've seen several polychaetes. But just a very, very different type of dive overall.
I want to turn toward the hill. Do you want to turn toward the hill? Local high. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Just a little bit.
So we just want to try to keep going upslope until the end of the dive, basically. Yep. I don't. Kind of follow the pillows.
We've only got 10 minutes remaining, so we've only got 10 minutes on the bottom, so we're not going to make another move.
In all seriousness, actually, our biologists are just as excited by this because anytime you're looking at how the seafloor actually forms, this really provides the structure for everything else that comes on top of it.
It's also, because we usually don't know when there are
Lots of
eruptions in
negatives.
the deep ocean because we can't detect them for the most part. It's a rare opportunity to see an eruption site so soon after it happens.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of other
And I
stuff
was
in
just
the manganese, too. the
No, we
manganese
don't-
crust has
we
a
don't
lot of
know where to
other
look to find
things
these
mixed
things.
into it too.
Cobalt and stuff.
It's not an everyday study, that's for sure.
True,
Thanks,
true.
Brian.
And actually, I was just reminded by one of our biologists that, you know, this whole expedition so far, and I think this is also true of the previous expedition to the Hawaiian Islands Monument, we saw a lot of manganese-encrusted basalts. We've seen just a lot of stuff that has a very heavy manganese crust. And the difference is striking between those and these. On those, you kind of look at the lithology, you look at the form, and you say, well, I hope that's a basalt that I'm picking up.
It's
On
totally
these,
doable.
you're looking at a
why
bare
don't-
rock.
Can we look at it?
You know what you're
see
picking
what,
up.
with like HG2?
And man, they're so
Mini
pretty.
Zeus?
Look at that. Look at how that one
Yeah.
flowed around
Levi,
that
let's
pillow.
take a look, zoom in on the starboard rock box. See how much damage it's taken already. It looks pretty intact. I would venture to say at this point we do more damage to it moving than letting it ride. Hey Deb, how dense is the glassy basalt? I mean, is it heavy or is it really light like pumice?
No, it's heavy.
Okay.
But what I'm afraid of, the only thing I'm concerned about with that one in the rock box is that if it gets really bounced around a lot, you're going to, it's just basically, certainly the outside's going to shatter, and it depends on if it's all entirely glass or if there's actually, if it's, you know, more crystal inside.
Well, when I took a look when we broke it off, it was not hollow inside.
No, it shouldn't be hollow.
So it was a solid piece, and then when we pushed it in, there was quite a few pieces that
Fell off.
fell off from around the outside.
Yeah.
But
And that's
it's still in one full piece now.
right.
And me pushing around with the arm and dropping in the box is going to be as jostle as it gets.
Yeah, we really want, it's actually, the glass is one of the things we really want off of that, off these rocks. Because, yeah, the glass gives you basically the composition of what the lava was, the exact composition of the lava before it starts crystallizing out different minerals.
I'm looking at a really shiny, dark black side. I think, you want to bring it up here and zoom in further on these? So you get a really good look at what the outside looks like.
On main HD.
Video, can we zoom?
Copy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it still looks pretty glassy.
So it's super calm out there, and the rock box is 2 meters below the surface, except for when it gets actively pulled onto the crane.
So that should be okay then.
So my gut still says leave it in the box.
Okay.
Well, I agree with Jeff.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go with you guys. No, I mean, I think if you think that will come back to the surface, it's okay if it breaks into a couple of pieces. You know, it's just that I'd like to make sure it gets recovered. So
yeah. As long as it's not pumicey and might, get floaty.
one of our scientists says it might be a little bit. It might be vesicular, so it might be a little bit less dense than a regular piece, but I can't imagine it being vesicular to the point of floating, if that's what you're concerned
Well, not
about.
really worried about floating, but I'm
Yeah.
worried about it getting floated out by the water currents.
Close to.
I-
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
yeah,
agree.
I think it's probably dense enough to stay in the box.
All right. We got 3 minutes. Any final zooms? You want to get?
Nope, but I can ask the shore base side. So, shore base side, you may have noticed we just had a 5-minute conversation about whether to keep that rock in the rock box. We've decided to do so. And we've got about 3 minutes left, and all of a sudden we're in hydrothermal staining. Where did that come from? But is there anything you guys would like to see before we leave? Any places to zoom particularly?
I think we've had a great dive.
Yep. I think that from all of us, both on the ship and on the shore base side, we would like to thank you so much for getting us fantastic samples and for driving us around in pillow assaults all day.
Yes, thanks, guys. Oh, a fish. No, that's no, it's extrusion.
Oh, that was
I was
mean.
like, maybe. And I was like, no.
You just got Bruce's hopes up.
I'm
you know,
sorry,
he just
Bruce.
jumped right up.
I hope you didn't get excited for that. I'm really sorry.
I have to admit, I don't
We
remember
actually
ever a
haven't seen any
dive
fish.
without a single fish.
Yeah. I think this is the first dive where we haven't
We've
seen
seen
any fish at all.
three types of animals.
Oh, can we zoom right in that weird little circular spot? Or not, it's okay. The bottom center where it looks like little different pieces. Or not, we can keep going. Doesn't matter.
Roger.
Oh, extreme close-up. Look at that. Just little tiny, gasps of lava. Just their last little bits. Oh, here we go. Okay, thank you.
So that's just failures in big brain.
Yeah, it's probably just a little area. Yeah, exactly, a little area, little pocket that busted out. Little area of less integrity in the rock, a little fracture.
Yep.
And
I
we're
would
getting,
say.
it looks like we're actually getting to a little bit heavier of this iron staining.
Yeah, pilot, I'd say pick the direction of most stain, run out
Yes.
to tether length, and then we'll pull off.
Agreed, Brian.
This looks nice.
So remember, shore-based scientists, those that can continue to stay on the line, we will have our science meeting just a few minutes after we come off bottom, like 2 or 3, basically as long as it takes for us to get the audio feed ready to go. Ah, so this is really stained. And some of these pillows are just totally flattening out. I'd be tempted to call the ones on the right almost lobate shaped. Not quite, but they were getting there.
Yeah, I agree.
And so for those of you who are not exciting deep sea geologists, a lobate flow it basically looks like a flat, deflated, a little bit wider pillow form. And I'd just been having a discussion with one of the other geologists about whether we had seen any lobates.
Pilot, could I zoom just enough to get rid of the skids? Thank you.
Pilots, do we think we're at nearing the top of the mound, or are we still just wandering uphill?
Still at return saying that we have more uphill to go.
Hmm.
You can pick up, this might not look great on video, but I can pick up the vehicle and look ahead a little ways. Sonar, and see what we got. It's all about
Whoa.
Sure.
Oh, it's just a crack.
It's just
Yeah.
It did look like it.
If we had zoomed in and seen like a large hydrothermal chimney, I think that everyone might have had a small heart attack here.
We zoomed in and saw like a ship sitting up here. I think more of us would have had a heart attack. Nothing against the vets, but what we got that was sitting on the
All right, it's time to go.
No, that might be the stop. There's no anything else on that,
Okay. All right. Thank you all for a really fantastic dive. This was just super. And they're gonna start coming off bottom.
I turn left.
We're gonna just
you
take
turn
maybe
left.
2 minutes to make sure that the
How do
feed
you-
gets disconnected, and then we will
How do you
end up
have
talking about
half a turn?
tomorrow's dive. Okay. So we'll talk to you in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
So turn left. What is that? Add positives. So somehow we run full circle. So I gotta go left turn all the way around
Yeah.
the base. So I gotta turn.
Yeah.
And that's just because we started out
The way we set up.
turn like we normally do.
Yeah. You want me to come up a little bit? You want me to come up a little bit?